Hey everyone, this is Tony, Tainted Lord A7. In this video, I'm going to do a discussion video about new metal bands that at first I didn't really care for. At first, it's not like I hated them or anything, it just they didn't appeal to me at first. But as the years go by, they've grown to I've grown to enjoy them and end up really liking their music. So yeah, this is just a little discussion video about some of the new metal bands that I enjoy now than I did before. So I guess the first band I'm going to show off is Kitty and the album Spit. Now, when Kitty first hit the new metal scene, I I thought they were decent. I thought they were okay. And they were like the first all girls metal band that I've seen, so that's really cool to see. But other than just a few songs, I didn't really gravitate towards them that much until like years later when when my music taste has evolved. I've actually went back to this band and pick up this album, Spit, the debut. And this album is actually really good. Like it's heavy, it has that down two guitar. Yes, it's like new metal, but at the same time it's also a solid metal album as well. Like this album can get really heavy, really and there's a lot of strong riffs on here, you know? So yeah, Kitty is like one of the first bands that I've grown to really appreciate than I did back then. So yeah, Kitty and album Spit really made an impact on me. So this album, the debut is really good, really awesome, really heavy, very riffy, and yeah, Kitty is now a band that I really enjoy now than I did back then. Next up is a band that I've always known about. I thought they were like okay when I first heard about them, but as the years go by, I've grown to really appreciate this band and their music. And that band is Seven Dust. Um, Seven Dust back then was like lumped into the whole new metal category, but as I continue listening to them, um, they become more like an alternative metal band and not just and they don't sound like a standard new metal band. Like I said, they're more like an alternative metal band, and I've grown to really enjoy them and appreciate the music. And Seven Dust is definitely a band that I really enjoy. That I enjoy now than I did before. So yeah, Seven Dust I really enjoy, and if you're into alternative metal, I really do think this band may pique your interest. So yeah, the Seven Dust albums I have is Seasons, the latest album Blood and Stone, Seven Dust, All I See Is War. Yeah, All I See Is War by Seven Dust. And the last one is Seven Dust, Animosity. So yeah, Seven Dust is a band that I thought they were okay, but I've grown to really appreciate them as the years go by. So, yep, Seven Dust is definitely one of my favorite new metal, alternative metal band. Just a good band all around. Next up is another band that I've grown to really like over that I've grown to really enjoy listening to over the years. Like back then when I was a kid, I only like one or two songs for them and I thought they were okay, but like I said, I've grown to really appreciate them now. and that band is POD. Now, they're like a Christian new metal band, but for a new metal band, they have a handful of good songs, and while I don't have every album from them, I think they are pretty good. I think they're more than just new metal. They also have like alternative rock and some mainstream rock, but they really do have a good handful of songs that I really do enjoy. Now I don't have every POD album. I only have two. This one, Murdered Love, and the next one I'm going to show. But yeah, POD is definitely one of my favorite bands that I've grown to appreciate now than I did back then. So yeah, so yeah, this is Murdered Love by POD. And POD's Satellite, which I think this is one of the best albums in my personal opinion. I really enjoy this one in Murdered Love that I showed. Both albums are really good. So yeah, POD is definitely a band I've grown to appreciate more now than before. Okay, the next band um was a big major um how should I say, a big major band in the new metal scene. And when I first heard about them, I didn't really care for them. I always thought they were kind of overrated, and I just didn't see the appeal. But fast forward a couple of years later, and I went back and listened to the music, and I've grown to really, really like the music. Like, I think they're more than just new metal. They definitely tapped into more extreme metal genres than the whole new metal thing, you know? And that band is Slipknot. Yeah, Slipknot were a band that I didn't really care for as a kid growing up, but is it but like I said, it isn't until I've, you know, grown up and a couple of years later that I went back and really started to appreciate Slipknot's music. It's angry, it's heavy, it's aggressive, and I've I've become a fan of them. So yeah. So the Slipknot albums that I have is the self-titled the self-titled album, Slipknot. The second album, no, yeah, I think this is the second album. Yeah, I do think this is the second album, Iowa. I'm pretty sure, but I could be wrong. So, anyways, yeah, Iowa by Slipknot. Slipknot Volume 3, The Subliminal Verses. Slipknot, All Hope Is Gone. Slipknot, We Are Not Your Kind. And the last Slipknot album that I have is the latest one, The End So Far. So yeah, Slipknot is definitely a band that I've grown to really appreciate now that I did when I was like a kid or a teenager. Never really understood why I never got into them as a kid or a teenager, but I'm glad that I'm into them now. And the last band that I've grown to really appreciate, and they're definitely one of the leading the one of the leaders in the whole new metal trend. Yeah, one of the leaders in the whole new metal trend. And as a kid, teenager, I didn't really care for them. But, you know, fast forward a couple of years later, and I go back to listen to them again, and it just clicked. Somehow I really appreciate their music now than I did before. In that band, the last band I'm going to show is Korn. Yeah, Korn was like one of those really overly hyped bands that really led the new metal trend back during the late 90s, well, during the 90s and early 2000s. And I didn't really care for them. But, like I said, a couple of years later, almost 20 years later, I go back and listen to the music, and something just clicked, and I start to really appreciate the music. Like, it's new metal, but at times they can be really heavy and just a really fun band to listen to. So yeah, I've grown to appreciate Korn now than I did back then. And the Korn albums I have is the latest one, Requiem. The Nothing by Korn. Yeah, The Nothing by Korn. Korn, The Serenity of Suffering. Yeah, The Serenity of Suffering by Korn. Korn, Take a Look in the Mirror. Korn, Untouchables. Korn, Issues. Yeah, Issues by Korn. And the last Korn album that I have is the self-titled debut album. So yeah, that's it, everyone. Hope you enjoy my little discussion video on new metal bands that I've grown to appreciate and enjoy now than I did back then. And who knows, maybe some of these new metal bands would pique your interest and you end up enjoying them now than you did back then. Because that happened to me. Maybe because my music taste evolved and it changes and I've grown to appreciate everything. But yeah, those were some of the new metal bands that I've grown to appreciate now that I did back then. And let me know what you think. So yeah, hope everyone enjoys this video, and everyone take care of yourselves. Goodbye for now.